And thank you for your talk. Very honest, almost like true confessions.
That's what I got right now.
That's the best way to be. Just think of what the opposite is, like pretending. That, oh yeah, my practice is very good.
I know you guys can tell just by looking in their eyes.
Come on. So does anyone have a question? For real now? Yes.
Oh, wait.
Whoops, hold on.
I've heard this one.
That's good, yeah.
I've heard another teacher say that we should suppress our anger.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Ah! Maybe that's a better way to deal with it. Let it out. I don't think suppressing anything is such a good idea. If you suppress it, it crawls down into a little hole somewhere, starts to grow and get bigger and get back at you. Yeah, but don't give in to anger. Don't act, out of anger. And look at your anger. So where does this anger come from? What is its nature? So meditation practice, basically looking at our minds. And whatever appears, just what is this? That's certainly the first step. And some therapists could probably tell you some other techniques, for dealing with anger or any, difficult emotion that ultimately causes suffering to you, and in case of anger, especially to someone, to someone else. Meditation practice is not a common practice in our culture. Spacing out is a common practice, but that's not what meditation is. I was reading a book this weekend that a friend of ours wrote. He's a Menominee, and I forget the title of the book, but it's, I think, 17 stories from different Native American traditions about animals, and it's intended for children, and it's quite a wonderful book. And I read through it all and enjoyed it all. It was the last sentence in the book that really stopped me. And paraphrase it, I can't remember it exactly. Has to do with thoughts and words. We must choose our thoughts and our words well in order to bring into existence the best possible world. Mm-hmm. It's a common expression to choose your words well, and it's good advice, to speak with really some consideration of what the situation is, the relationship, and to be very careful about what you say. But it's not a common expression in English to choose your thoughts well. So what could that mean? You get this sequence of thoughts, just stream of consciousness flowing all the time. What are you going to choose? Maybe get a bucket here and a bucket there or something like that. But that's exactly what meditation practice is. We don't use that expression exactly, choosing your thoughts. But to meditate, you need a certain technique. It's not about sitting on a cushion and spacing out. I think you all know that. And there are, there are many techniques. One technique is simply mantra practice. So you choose if you want what your mantra is. And it might be a standard mantra like Om Mani Padme Hum. And there are other Sanskrit mantras that all have a very nice resonance. So it's easy to stay with it. Or you stay with the great question. Maybe on the inhalation, you ask yourself, what am I? And on the exhalation, don't know. And you stay with that. So choosing a meditation technique, usually with the advice of a teacher, is a very important first step. And then choosing to stay with it is equally important. We sit for half an hour. Next time you sit for half an hour, notice how many times you start spacing out. You can't count on your fingers, there's not enough. Maybe use beads. I recommend the kind of mala with 108. Maybe that'll be enough. But it doesn't matter how many times you lose the technique that you've chosen. More important than how many times you lose it is how many times do you bring it back? Because you can lose it and it can stay lost, for how long? 1 minute? 3 minutes? What's your record? Half an hour? Yeah, maybe half an hour. So spacing out for half an hour is not exactly meditation practice. Even if your posture is gorgeous, like Todd's, for instance. Todd is perfect. But Todd's mind is very clear too. Yeah. But the correct posture and correct breathing actually really helps you to maintain the practice, whatever it is. So if you're wondering about your meditation technique, and perhaps you haven't chosen it well, because people have different temperaments, and some things work better for some people, and then you're not always the same. You do evolve, thank God, through the years, and maybe another technique you might want to try. So I urge all of us to take our meditation technique seriously. Choose those thoughts well, those words well, and they usually are words, and find something that really fits. You have to give it quite a while, a long trial. I recommend 9 years. That might be long enough, I don't know. But take it seriously, is what I'm saying. That's what I got out of this Lenape tribe wisdom. I guess it was yesterday. So any other questions? Anybody on the screen? Yes, Allie?
Oh, thank you. So before, the backyard was covered in black tarp. And
what is that called?
The backyard was covered in the black tarp, landscaping
black tarp, yes.
And I saw it's like uncovered, and we have the native gardening thing coming up. So can you tell us your vision for the backyard, and maybe how we can even use this space to practice?
I think the vision has been established by people who are more visionary than I am. The people we have working on it are really experts. We have 2 stonemasons whose work is renowned. They're called stonemasons, but I call them stone mystics. Because, they'll stare at a stone for 10 minutes and move it an inch. You know, and it's better. You know. So if you haven't taken a look at the side yard, please do. It had been covered in black tarps, and that was so all the vegetation would die and it would be easy to pull up all of the weeds. And I had never heard of that, but you know, that's what's going on. You'll see that that lot is not level. You know, it has wonderful contours and curves and everything. And you'll also see there are a good half dozen really big rocks that have been moved there. And in Zen, we like really big rocks. You know? Bigger the better. You know, strong. You know, it really it helps to ground the whole place. You know, literally, and especially if you're out there. There are also some large rectangular stones around the perimeter, which are intended they're going to be seats, and you can sit there, and there'll be other places to sit. There's also on a raised earth bed right now, maybe an 8-foot limestone slab, which is going to be an altar for a Buddha, which is being carved by one of the stone mystics' wife. Sister, I'm sorry, I always confuse that. Sister. Well, yeah, they've lived together for a long time. Yeah, they have different houses. They're part of what was the original hippie commune around here, just north of the county line. And they've been there for 50 years, I think, really. I mean, go back to the 70s. So we have wonderful people working on this, and we've contracted with a woman who specializes in native plants. And she's going to, when is this? Okay, we're going to have something. Pardon me? Oh, Dharma. I think I'll go back to Sangha. Yeah, so what question am I responding to here?
So how can we practice
what are we going to use
when
this
it's ready?
for? Yeah. It can very well serve as a meditation garden. You know, it's, sometimes there'll be a lot of people there. Sometimes you might be the only person there. And you will find many places where you can sit and practice. As I said, these big rectangular stones all around the perimeter. And I don't know if there's going to be some elsewhere. I have the whole vision in my mind. But that's the idea. So you can think of it as a meditation garden. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
We have time maybe for one more question. It has to be Dharma, though. We have two. Tom beat you by a hair. Yeah.
So are all Buddhas the same?
Yeah. Are you Buddha? Yeah. Are you the same as all these people? Yeah, so you answered your own question. But what about your fundamental nature?
Yeah.
Yeah, so fundamental nature is universal. Yeah, and it includes not only all of the people in this room, in spite of their surface differences, but everything in the universe. Yeah. So that's my reply to your question. I usually don't answer questions, you might have noticed, but try to reply to each one. So thank you. We have time for your question, Ting.
Could you,
Whoops.
repeat it? It's very simple. Could you talk about koan practice, the importance of koan
About
practice?
what?
The importance of koan practice.
Kong-an practice. Yeah, some of you are well-versed in Kong-an practice. We use the Sino-Korean pronunciation, Kong-an. In English, it's more commonly pronounced koan. And superficially, koans are regarded as like Zen riddles. It's the most famous, you know, in popular culture is, what is the sound of one hand clapping? I just answered that koan for you, so okay. We never use it, so it doesn't matter. So there are large collections. It's said that there are 1,700 kong-ans on record. We don't have the book here, do we? We read from it though. So 365 kong-ans for everyday life is a book compiled by our root teacher, Zen Master Hae Kwang, who died a number of years ago. So each kong-an, the heart of it is a little story, and then, there are questions, and often there's some little introduction to the story and maybe some little conclusion, and then a commentary of some sort. So we use these in what we call kong-an interviews. So we have regular interviews every Saturday morning, and on retreats, we have interviews as well. So you come into the interview room where one of you caught me napping earlier before practice. And so face the teacher. The teacher will ask you, do you have any questions? And it can start off as a consulting interview, talk about your practice or whatever, but it will culminate in the teacher asking you, one of these kong-ans. When Zen Master Hae Kwang first founded our school, he chose 10 kong-ans to be the heart of kong-an practice. Now that's been expanded to 12 and maybe 13 even, that you have to pass all of these kong-ans in order to be considered to be made a teacher yourself. And that typically takes a dozen years or whatever to get through that curriculum, if ever, and it's no shame not to get through it. Most important thing, is to try. And there are any number of other kong-ans, as I've mentioned. So Buddha said that all things have Buddha nature. Jojo said a dog has no Buddha nature, because when he was asked, does a dog have Buddha nature, he said moo, which means no. So that's the first gate, questions based on a little story like that. If you have a kong-an, my recommendation is every time that you sit, start with your regular practice. When you find that your mind has wandered away from it, say 3 seconds after, whatever it is, then bring up the kong-an and really perceive the kong-an. For as long as you can. And then when your mind wanders again, put the kong-an down, and for the rest of that period, go back to your regular practice. That's my recommendation. Other teachers have different recommendations, perhaps, for working on kong-ans. And you don't have to work on it when you're meditating. Whenever in everyday life it comes into your mind, just hold it, for as long as the circumstances permit. What is this? So I hope that all of you do have a kong-an, and if you don't, I hope you have one soon. And keep the kong-an alive, keep the practice alive. Soon finish the great work of life and death, get enlightenment, and save all beings from suffering. And that's how my teacher always ended his talks. Yeah, announcements.